Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Fogg, founder and chief operating officer of ProdPerfect. I'm going to give you a lightning demo of what ProdPerfect does and how we're radically changing test automation. So what ProdPerfect does is autonomously build, maintain, and evolve end-to-end test automation code for web applications. So we're like a QA team in a box, right? We're magic software that you plug in, and what we crank out is ever-evolving end-to-end test automation code specified to the test environment for your application. And the way we do it is we collect clickstream metadata from production. We analyze that to detect patterns of behavior that we see in production. And these are our test cases. So we're building tests that reflect what users are doing on your application to make sure what they want to do never breaks. And then through this pretty gnarly process that you learn about in a deeper demo with us, we translate the patterns that we see into end-to-end test code that works in your test environment. We create test data, and we're able to create assertions to make these full effective end-to-end tests. The way that you use ProdPerfect is you run us in CI just as if you built that test automation suite yourself. Using an npm command, ProdPerfect runs and gives you feedback right in CI. But more powerfully, there's a platform called Mission Control that we use to give you deeper debugging that I'll show you in just a moment. And the real magic is over time, we're constantly reanalyzing the data that we're seeing on production and comparing against our current tests to make sure that as behavior changes, as new features come out, we're updating these tests, shipping new ones, and making sure that the test suite is fresh. So let's hop into Mission Control right away. What we're going to see is a customer of ours called Negotiatus and how they're using ProdPerfect. So these are a series of test runs. And if you're a developer at Negotiatus, you've just run ProdPerfect and you've got a bunch of bugs. And we're going to see what it looks like to debug that. So this test suite with all its failures ran in 15 minutes. We're able to do this because we fiercely prioritize what tests we should deploy based on users using the application, right? And so here's a pretty key one: add product to cart and check out. So what we can do is we can dig into this error, we can learn what happened, we can see a screenshot. More powerfully, we can see video of the last time it passed and the time it failed. So you don't have to wait for a whole QA cycle. You don't have to wait till a week down the line when you run this long regression suite to have any idea who made the bug and where it is. The developer gets that feedback instantly so they can fix the bug as part of their dev cycle without having to get anyone else involved. And if you can't debug based on just the video and the screenshot, if you can't replicate it, you can use ProdPerfect's debugging functionality in order to spin up the remote resources we use to run the test in the first place to make sure that we can replicate that bug in the same environment with the same conditions with full fidelity in order to debug it as quickly as possible. And if you're of the QA persuasion, want to better understand what these tests are doing, you can always explore them in depth. So this test that just failed, a QA person could come in and understand, hey, exactly what's going on, what are the different functions that it's going through, what are the assertions, and coming very soon, you're going to be able to modify these tests to make sure they work for you. And so customers that use ProdPerfect, they sign on to a radical approach to test coverage. Back in the day, test coverage used to be, if you came up with a percentage, you'd have come up with a bunch of end-to-end test cases that you thought might be important. And your coverage percentage was the number of end-to-end tests that you built divided by the number that you came up with. This is quite arbitrary and meaningless. What ProdPerfect does is our denominator is all observed user behavior on your application, and our numerator for test coverage is the number of interactions that we're covering with our tests. So we have an objective, meaningful way of measuring test coverage that also allows us to fiercely prioritize tests by how much coverage they provide, so that you have a lean, mean testing suite that gives you excellent QA coverage, catches meaningful bugs while running very, very quickly. And just in case the tests that we've discovered are insufficient because there are some rare behaviors that you want to make sure get covered in your test suite, you can use our custom tests to add those. And so the place ProdPerfect fits is at the top of the testing pyramid. If you're a radical leader who wants to move fast, run your end-to-end testing suite many, many times per day, get continuous testing for continuous feedback for your devs, then ProdPerfect is the right fit for you. Come to prodperfect.com. I'd love to chat with you myself.